Hello and welcome back to episode number 70 of the Not So Serious Life. I am Jason Goldberg. That is Chandler, who is in his most beautiful diamonds ever. And what are you holding there, Steve? Kanye, what is that? Life is crazy good.
Refrigerator magnets. The key to having a good life is to get a bunch of refrigerator magnets that speak to you as you approach your refrigerator.
Now, when you say speak to you, do you mean literally or like speak to your soul?
No, not literally, but I mean the message speaks to you.
Oh, the message. Okay, good. You know, I get emails and stuff all the time from people all the time saying how much they love Crazy Good, like that they just love the book so much. And what I always respond back to them is, why are you telling me I didn't write it? That's my response.
You're lucky that you're associated with it, however.
No, it's typically people who have received it as a part of being in the Not So Serious Life Inner Circle. And it's just an incredible book. And if you haven't checked it out, read it now because it's a great palate cleanser before you go into Death Wish, right?
Yes. It'll allow you to handle Death Wish a little more easily.
That's true. They've done studies, though, that say if you watch comedy, some kind of comedy, or read something comedic, or have some exposure to humor before you do something stressful, not that reading Death Wish is going to be stressful, but just in general, it actually improves your ability to handle that stressful thing. But on the flip side, watching something comedic after you go through something stressful doesn't have nearly the same effect. So,
right.
so the moral of the story is just always be surrounding yourself with comedy. And that way, no matter when the stressful thing comes up, you're already set and ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So watching the Not So Serious Life is a good way to do that.
Yeah. You'll be laughing all the way to the bank.
Unless we're the stressful thing. Never mind. Okay. You ready for the question?
Yeah.
All right. So today's question comes from Malcolm. And Malcolm says, how can I retain more of what I read? He says, as an avid book reader and Audible listener, I shouldn't have said Audible, they're not sponsoring us. As an avid book reader and Audible listener of mainly nonfiction, I struggle to remember much of what I read. I use the highlighter on my Kindle and occasionally write notes, but can't help feeling I'm missing a trick. Maybe I try and read too quickly, but I get impatient and want to get to the end. Any tips, please? So Malcolm says, how can I retain more of what I read? Do you read a lot, Steve? Are you a big reader?
Yes, I do. I love it. I do it only because I love it.
Yeah.
We have a saying in the coaching school: once for information, twice for transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important, if you have a book that really means a lot to you and you learned a lot from, is to put it somewhere where you're going to read it again, because the second time you read a book, that's when it really gets into you and you remember it and becomes operational for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so on board with that. There are literally, like, I've said this to people before, and I really believe this. There are probably 3 or 4 books that I've read that I could just reread those 4 books for the rest of my life, and I don't think I would need anything else. I would have everything I need. You know, 2 of them in particular, Reinventing Yourself by You is still my number 1 top personal development book ever, and Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Like, those 2 books in particular, I have read multiple times and will keep reading. And I don't, I see people online a lot, and this is not to shame people who do this. I think it's great because it's a fun game they do, but they say, like, I'm going to read 100 books this year, or I'm going to read 75 books this year. And I'd love to have a conversation with those people at the end of a year and say, tell me how your life has changed from reading those 100 books. And it may change. They may read a book like fast because they can process things fast, and they go out and apply it and their life changes. Great. I can't do that. I don't process things that fast. So for me, as soon as I finish reading a book, and I'm a Kindle person too, like Malcolm, so I highlight things in the Kindle, and the way I do it is, as soon as I finish a book, if the book has really touched me or hit me, like the last one that I'm thinking of is Loving What Is I go back first and I reread all my highlights, because those were obviously things that really stuck out to me. I'll reread all the highlights, and then I'll start over and reread the book again. Because if something really strikes you, it's like, knowledge is not a volume game, right? It's an understanding game. You don't win by consuming the most knowledge. You win by actually applying what you learn, right? By actually using it, like you said, once for information, twice for transformation, 3 times for crystallization. I mean, like, really digging into it. That's the new one. You can have that. That's yours, Steve. That's why I went to ACS 3 times, was for crystallization.
Crystal Method.
That's a band.
I know. We should be playing them right now. They could sponsor us with a slogan like that.
They really could. Or we can get like Breaking Bad to sponsor us if they ever come back on the air. So anyway, so if something really speaks to you, great, like go back and reread it. And what if it wasn't a game to see how many books you could read or how fast you could read it? You know, what if you truly picked one book and read it and just read it over and over for 1 year, or read it really slowly over the course of the year, you may get more out of that. You may not remember everything from every book, but if that's the book you focus on, you may get more out of that than you would by reading 2 or 3 or 20 or 50 books or audibles and highlighting the crap out of it. It's like, can you really slow down and apply something you learn? And that's what I'm doing as much as possible.
That's good. Very good advice.
Yeah, good advice from you too. And I'm glad that you still read. Do you read any fiction? Are you a fiction person at all?
Yes, I like reading fiction.
Does it help as a writer, do you think, to read more fiction?
Very much so. I love this book. This is a fiction book I've been reading as a ramp up to Death Wish. I recommend it very highly.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. Author of Tree of Smoke. Cool. I gotta pepper some fiction in because I do a lot of nonfiction, so I think it'd be good to kind of cleanse the palate, just like Crazy Good does for Death Wish. So kind of cleanse the palate in there. That can be the ginger of my. Okay, this metaphor is going too far. Thank you for your question, Malcolm. I hope that's helpful. Don't worry about retaining what you read. Just go apply what you read, and that's a lot more fun anyways. And keep sending your questions in to questions@thenotsoseriouslife.com. Somebody will win Steve's Diamond Detroit hat. No, I'm kidding. He's not giving that away. But that maybe would get us more viewers, right?
I can't give it away. It was a gift from a client.
Okay, fine. If you want to tank the show with your lack of generosity, that's up to you.
Well, it's all about honesty on this show.
Transparency and honesty. All right, guys, send your questions in to questions@thenotsoseriouslife.com. The bear may answer your question next time. Head over to thenotsoseriouslife.com to join our inner circle. Make sure you keep following Steve on iMindshift for Death Wish, which is coming out very soon. And as well, you can follow me and you'll hear about Prison Break, which is coming out soon. We have so much great stuff for you. We love you. The bear loves you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.